Meet Tom Pritzker, heir, dealmaker, hotel magnate, and the quietly influential force behind one of America's most storied family fortunes. He's the kind of billionaire you don't always see on magazine covers, but whose fingerprints are all over industries from hospitality to biotech, container leasing to international investment. This is the story of how a Chicago kid with a law degree and an MBA became the steward of a dynasty, and how he used that stewardship to build businesses, shape institutions, and steer the Pritzker name through triumphs and controversies alike. Born into one of the country's great entrepreneurial families in 1950, Tom Pritzker grew up with a front-row seat to a uniquely American experiment, a family that turned a small legal and real estate background into a sprawling, multi-industry empire. The Pritzker fortune, made famous by Tom's father Jay, the founder who transformed a single motel into Hyatt Hotels, was never just about hotels. It was about a relentless appetite for building companies and experimenting across sectors. Tom absorbed that ethos early. Family conversations about growth, strategy, and opportunity were the family business's everyday language. Tom's path was thoughtful and deliberately prepared. He attended Claremont Men's College for his undergraduate degree, then returned to Chicago for both a JD and an MBA from the University of Chicago, training that would give him a unique combination of legal rigor and financial savvy. Those dual degrees were a practical toolkit for someone expected to manage complex family assets, law to navigate contracts and governance, and business for the art of allocating capital and scaling enterprises. He didn't immediately take the wheel at Hyatt. Instead, Tom Pritzker built experience across transactions and industries through the Pritzker Organization, the family's merchant bank and investment vehicle. TPO became his laboratory for a buy-to-build approach. Invest permanent capital into companies, then work to grow them over the long run rather than flipping them for a quick return. That approach informed a string of major moves, from container leasing to healthcare, that show the Pritzker playbook in action. Identify durable, scalable industries, assemble the right team, and back management with patient capital. One of Tom's most visible roles is at Hyatt. Over decades, the Pritzker family transformed Hyatt from a handful of properties into a global brand, and Tom has been central to that stewardship. He served as president of Hyatt early on, later becoming chairman and CEO, and today holds the title of executive chairman. Under the family's governance and the company's professional management, Hyatt expanded into new geographies, new market segments, and new brand tiers, an evolution that mirrored broader shifts in global travel and hospitality. Tom's influence has been less about headline-grabbing public leadership and more about long-term oversight, setting strategy, guiding governance, and ensuring the family's interests aligned with the company's future. But hotels were only one chapter. Tom helped found or back multiple ventures that show the Pritzker appetite for diverse, often counterintuitive bets. He was involved in creating Triton, which grew into one of the world's largest container leasing companies, a bet on global trade and the freight infrastructure that moves goods around the world. In biotech and healthcare, he supported ventures like Bay City Capital and Reliant, demonstrations of the family's willingness to back science and industry where the upside is disruptive and long-term. He's been linked to cable operations, cruise lines, and other platforms that speak to a singular idea: position capital, where structural economic trends meet capable operators. Beyond private deals, Tom's profile includes a steady presence on boards and in policy circles. He's been active in institutions like the Center for Strategic and International Studies, a sign that his interests extend beyond shareholder value into geopolitics and global strategy. He served on boards of major public companies and nonprofit institutions, balancing a private investor's discipline with a civic leader's sense of responsibility. At the University of Chicago and cultural institutions, his engagement reflects the Pritzkers' long tradition of philanthropy that runs parallel to their business pursuits. Philanthropy for Tom is both local and global. Alongside his wife, Margot, he supports conservation efforts and research into neuropsychiatric disorders, and he's been connected to dozens of cultural and educational initiatives in Chicago and beyond. The family's foundations and grant-making vehicles, from the Margot and Thomas Pritzker Family Foundation to its cousin organizations, funnel significant resources into arts, education, and public policy. This giving strategy follows a recognizable Pritzker pattern: fund institutions that shape civic life and culture, while also investing in research that could yield long-term public benefit. But being a Pritzker hasn't been free of friction. The family's fortune and influence have at times produced public disputes and legal wrangling as different branches negotiated trusts and control. Those internal dynamics make the Pritzker story human. It's about siblings and cousins, governance structures, and the tough choices families make when massive wealth is involved. Tom's role has often been that of a steadying hand, someone who runs a merchant bank, supervises the family's permanent capital, and tries to translate wealth into durable institutions rather than ephemeral status. Like many people in positions of influence, Tom's career has encountered controversy. In the era of renewed scrutiny over elites and their social networks, his name has surfaced in documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein, mentions that major outlets reported, and that the Pritzker side has addressed in varying ways. Those references underscore a broader reality. The lives of the ultra-wealthy are woven into complex social webs, and when those webs are exposed, reputations are tested. In reporting on such matters, it's important to separate allegation from adjudication, to attribute carefully, and to recognize the difference between being named in documents and being convicted of wrongdoing. These are high-stakes, often legally fraught stories that have real consequences for victims, for the accused, and for public trust. Back in the boardroom and the investment office, Tom has been methodical. The Pritzker Organization, under his leadership, emphasizes a long-term capital thesis: buy quality firms, invest in management, and grow businesses over decades. That patient capital approach has paid dividends in multiple sectors. The group's record includes hundreds of transactions and billions of dollars in equity value. It's an old-school model in an age of fast private equity: slower, more conservative, and more focused on continuity than on quarterly exits. That continuity is visible in how the Pritzkers manage succession and legacy. Running a family enterprise across generations requires structures and rituals. Family offices, trustees, investment committees, and governance rules that balance individual autonomy with collective responsibility. Tom has been one of the architects of those systems, pushing for rules and processes that reduce internecine battles and preserve capital for future generations. Families that lack that discipline often see wealth dissipate, not because of markets, but because of governance failures. The Pritzkers' longevity suggests a different story. They built not only companies, but institutions that outlast individuals. Tom's personality, by many accounts reserved, disciplined, and intellectually curious, shaped how he led. He's not a flashy billionaire celebrity. His public profile is low-key. He's more likely to be seen in boardrooms and museum trustee meetings than in tabloids. Yet that quiet demeanor can be powerful. Stewardship at scale is often less about charisma and more about competence. The willingness to hire strong managers, the patience to let strategy unfold, and the courage to hold firm during downturns. One of the through lines in Tom's life is a fascination with culture and history. That interest has shaped both his philanthropy and his investments in cultural institutions. The Pritzkers have long been collectors and patrons, using hotels to display art, supporting museums, and funding cultural prizes. This cultural engagement reinforces a strategic insight the family has long understood. Institutions create reputational capital that outlasts financial statements. When a family endows a museum wing or supports a university chair, it's building networks of influence that can benefit generations. The Pritzker story also intersects with larger social debates about wealth, power, and public responsibility. How should extremely wealthy families wield their influence? What obligations come with stewardship of enduring wealth? Tom's public actions, funding research, supporting cultural institutions, and participating in policy conversations reflect one answer: use capital to create public goods while continuing to run companies that provide jobs, services, and economic value. Critics counter that philanthropy can't substitute for democratic accountability, and that concentrated wealth inevitably distorts political life. Those tensions are part of the modern conversation about the role of families like the Pritzkers. In business terms, Tom's legacy is a set of concrete achievements. The long-term growth and resilience of Hyatt, the many successful platform investments managed through TPO, and the founding or backing of companies that help define their industries. In civic terms, it's a portfolio of philanthropic projects and institutional boards that shaped cultural and policy life in Chicago and beyond. In human terms, it's a story of a family navigating the complexities of fortune, legal disputes, public scrutiny, and the ongoing challenge of turning wealth into something that endures responsibly. What does the future hold for Tom Pritzker and the enterprises he shepherds? The era of travel disruption, geopolitical uncertainty, and rapid technological change poses new tests. Hyatt must compete with nimble rivals and changing consumer preferences from luxury to experiential travel, while global supply chains and trade patterns reshape adjacent businesses like container leasing. TPO will have to identify new durable themes, climate-resilient infrastructure, healthcare innovation, or digital platforms that can absorb permanent capital and deliver long-term returns. The choices the family office makes today will determine whether another generation of Pritzkers preserves and extends the legacy Tom has helped steward. For audiences trying to understand how dynastic wealth operates in the 21st century, Tom Pritzker is a useful case study. He's not merely an inheritor. He's a manager of legacy, someone who formalized investment processes, professionalized family governance, and used capital to build companies and cultural institutions. That combination of investment acumen and civic engagement defines a particular strand of modern American capitalism. Wealthy but institutionally minded, entrepreneurial and philanthropic, private in demeanor but public in influence. To sum it up in a single line, Tom Pritzker is the cautious craftsman of a modern dynasty, a man who turned family capital into a platform for building businesses and institutions while steering through the messy realities of power and scrutiny. He's an investor who prefers slow, compound growth to quick flips, a steward who values governance as much as growth, and a patron who sees cultural capital as integral to a legacy. As debates continue about wealth and responsibility, Tom's life provides a window into one family's answer: steward well, invest patiently, and try to build things that last. The results are mixed: grand successes, contested moments, and a public scrutiny that comes with the territory. That's the Pritzker paradox: enormous resources and influence, wielded quietly, often behind closed doors, but always with consequences that ripple widely. If you're left with one thought, the Pritzker model reminds us that enormous fortunes aren't only about money. They're about governance, institutions, and the choices people make with power. Tom Pritzker's choice was to build and preserve, and in doing so, he left a mark on global hospitality, industrial infrastructure, scientific research, and civic life that will be debated and judged for decades to come.